Hello everyone and welcome back to the next episode of the Road to FIDE Master series. It is the episode number 45 from Rocketa's Chess Festival. In this one I will cover the last round of the festival, so without further ado, let's just go into the game. I've played against Jaime Rey Martinez, once more a 14-year-old FIDE master from Spain, this time a little bit lower rated than the previous ones. However, the rating has dropped only recently, so I knew that he is capable of playing at the level of 2400. So a tough opponent, tough opposition, not an international master once more, so that was a problem. Nevertheless, I wanted to play a good game, and yeah, since my opponent was a young guy and he played e4, I was, thinking what to play against him. I am no longer such a young guy, and even though I was relying on Sicilian defense for the most part of my life, I have to sometimes go away from it, and this time was no different. And I opted for e5, which actually I did not play that much in my life, but only recently in the past few months I started to do so because, at least in here I would not get crushed by some young guy with a great opening repertoire, let's say. So yeah, that was the choice of mine. Let's see how it went. My opponent opted for the Rui Lopez opening. In Poland we call it Spanish opening, so we were playing in Spain, makes sense. I decided to go with a6, knight f6, bishop e7, so I would say the main line. And after rook e1, b5, bishop b3, castle, we entered the territory of martial, anti-martial variations. What I mean by that is that I believe if you want to play a calm game with black pieces in the Rui Lopez in here, you would rather play d6 in order to solidify the e5 pawn already as of now and prepare the knight a5 jump. And since that's the case, c3 would be the move to go for white in order to make space for the bishop, and now the castle is in play and we continue from here. And both white and black have plenty of choices, but if you play a castle there, it's with one devil idea in mind, because if c3 happens like normally, you would be going for d5, not d6. And you may say, okay, you are losing the pawn. That's exactly my point. I am losing the e5 pawn and I'm happy about it because it would allow me to go for some attacks on the king side. That's the martial attack in the Rui Lopez. That's what I like to play. Therefore, my opponent, since they know this when preparing against me, go for the anti-martials. And anti-martial moves will include basically all the moves besides the c3. So a4 is very good one, h3 is a tricky one, d3 not so much because it closed the idea of d4 for the later stage of the game. So yeah, it all comes down to the h3 and a4 mostly. And a4 was played in here, and you may remember the game from the episode number 7, I believe, from the Road to FIDE Master series, in which I was met also with a4, and in that game I did not play my best and I lost. And one of the lessons that I could have taken from that game was to cover a4 deeper in my, let's say, preparation. And did I do it? Not so much. So I guess you are not allowed usually to make the same mistakes twice. So I was not happy with myself already. Yeah, what should have I played? I knew that after bishop b7, which was my choice, d3, the move to go for is d6, because I looked that, okay, this is the move, but why, how, what to do later, and all that stuff I did not cover, unfortunately. So I said to myself, alright, do I want to play d6 and prepare myself for a long battle against a young guy who actually is known for surprisingly his strategic, let's say, approach and all that stuff? At least that's what my coach told me. Or should I go for something sharp? So even though I knew that d5 in here is the martial attack attempt once more, it's not working so well, I still went for it. In the h3 variation, it's much better. In the a4 variation, not so much, and why we'll discover in the game. So after a4, bishop b7, d3, I played d5, I gave the pawn on e5, and we got into such position in which I knew that I should go for queen d6, hitting the rook in that way this time. And after rook e1, rook a to e8 was my choice, knight d2 was played, c5 was played, and we are more or less covering and continuing in the same manner as we did in the episode number 4, I believe, from the Road to FIDE Master series. But in that game, h3 was played instead of a4. And it changes quite a lot in terms of the dynamic of the position, because when we consider the kingside attack of mine and the idea that I might have there, h3 or any other pawn move in front of the king is looked at as a weakness, as a problem for white. And in here, white not only does not have any problem with the pawn structure in front of the king, but also have this annoying a4 pawn that is hitting my queenside pawns and makes things a little bit unstable for me. So that's why a4 move is better when dealing with the martial attack, because it allows more of choices for white and all that stuff. So even though I knew that, I still went for it. That's why I was not happy with the game itself, with my opening choice, but at least position is enough dynamic that maybe something will happen. Knight e4 was played, which is the best move in here, I believe. And I believe that in the game that I already mentioned, which is episode number 4, my opponent there went for some knight f3 move, which was a little bit worse there. It would be a little worse here too. So knight e4 is a very good one. And in here, after some thought, I decided to go with queen c6 instead of trying to re-evaluate the position. Think once more about the ideas in it, because there is a4 instead of h3. Do the comparison, do all that stuff. Instead of going for it, I decided, okay, I will just play exactly the same as I would after h3 variation, which is exactly the point of, knowing your repertoire, getting your things done well, and be prepared for circumstances like this, because I have to go away from what I know in the other variation, because it's just not the same and there are other factors to consider. So in here, instead of queen c6, queen g6 was the move to play, because I am basically setting up some f5 moves, ideas and all that. However, I was unsure how to feel about knight g3 move, stopping all that, and yeah, the checkmate will no longer be there, right, on the board. So only now, perhaps, I could have played queen c6. Maybe that was the way to go, but it was all like blurry in my head. I couldn't figure out it like for good, let's say, and that's why I went for the move that I knew, but in here it was not good one. Queen c6. Why is it not a good one? I spent around 10 minutes in here, and what did not cross my mind is that whenever I would like to play c4, which I am, like willing to do, that's the basically goal of queen c6, I will be met with ab5, dc4, bc4, and bishop a4 at the end of the variation, pinning my queen to my rook. And that's what I've missed. That's what I didn't even think about when spending those 10 minutes. So why did I waste so much time and thought about basically nothing? I don't know. Queen f3 was played. I don't have c4, I don't have f5 yet because of the pins. I don't have basically any move forward while my pieces are in the best squares like possible, nearly. This bishop is not so great, but it cannot go, to any squares of those. And all the other pieces are, either centrally placed or on the good files or on the good diagonals and all that. So what can I play? I was kind of out of ideas. The only one that I knew that might be playable there from the other, setups and all that was knight b6, trying to make the knight a little bit worse in order to go for the c4 move, because knight supports both c4 move and a4 square that you may know that, it's a problematic for me. But I was unsure if that's exactly what I want to do now. I wanted to keep the knight in the center a little bit longer. And if that's the case, what can I play? Well, I chose king h8. I felt like this move will not hurt me so much, and the king in here was anyway under some pressure maybe. So since I want to keep my f5 ideas in hand, I decided that, okay, let's play this waiting move, let's wait and see what happens. However, in here, if my opponent went for bishop d2, I would be really unsure what to do. I just have no moves, really, because I mean, this move solidifies the rook on e1. The rooks are, protecting each other. The bishop looks there. So knight b6 is no longer a thing. Not only due to the fact that the knight can be hit, because that's not the point. The point is that with the king on h8, the f7 pawn is weak, actually. And so king h8, the one idea that does not work with it is exactly the knight b6 c4 one. And if that's the case, like, I mean, what can I do? I don't know. And I saw this bishop d2 move, and before the, let's say, white's move, I started thinking, okay, what can I do against it? And I was thinking, and I couldn't figure it out, really. Yeah, I mean, c4 obviously is the move to go for, right? But after a b, dc, bc, bishop a4, it's still on the board. It's still on the board. It's still the problem. So maybe I would have to go away with the rook from the open file, but we never like such moves, right? Rook c8, rook b8, it just does not feel right. So I would say that it's not that my opponent outplayed me in the opening phase. I outplayed myself. So now I know that I really have to work on this anti-martial variation. But yeah, that was my assumption during the game. I was not like hopeless, but I felt bad about myself. And yeah, after bishop d2, I would not know what to do. However, my opponent played knight g5. And like, why? I don't know. I really don't know. Because the least I can do, without even thinking much, okay, I may think, okay, f7 pawn is hit, so let me remove the attacker and play c4, which I wanted to do anyway. Because with the e file being open, if my opponent tries to go for this line, here, I can take there and take the bishop, basically. So the least I can do is actually trade the worst piece of mine, which is bishop e7, and then go for the c4 move, which I always wanted to play, and close this bishop, basically. So I was like, what? What is it, knight d5? Like, what is it about? Not only that, I figured that thanks to the fact actually that e file is opening up, I might have this c4 idea in hand, like, already. Why is that? Because I've calculated that after c4, ab, dc, bc, bishop a4, I have bishop g5. My queen is, hanging, but I am attacking the first rank. And that's exactly why this bishop d2 earlier on was so important to include, because then there would be no problem, right? And in here, there are. So yeah, and if that's the case, I mean, what can opponent play here otherwise? Like knight f7? I mean, okay, I will just, give my queen, take the bishop, claim the 2 pieces for the rook situation. King is not that great, okay, fine. In here I can always also have some problems, but I'm creating ones too, like in here, maybe there, like, yeah, plenty of things to consider. All in all, after this misplayed opening, I got, a new life, so I was very, very happy. And yeah, after bishop a4, bishop g5, there was simply not that much that white could have done. I calculated until this point. I calculated, some in-between moves, but still my queen is poisoned. It cannot be taken. So in here, I couldn't figure out even a good move for white, because after bishop g5, I can't take the bishop, because the rook was overloaded, protecting the bishop and e1 square from my rook entering there. So the only move in here that I've missed during my calculations, which is a quiet move similar to the move from round number 5 of this tournament, which is queen d1. So after, sequence of forced moves, exchanges, all that stuff, queen simply quietly goes back in order to protect the king. And the point is that still this pressure is on the board, and this one too. So I've missed that. My opponent perhaps missed that too. It was not that easy to find, but still, objectively, as you can tell, Evil Bar says 0.00, because I have some potential of attacking the opponent. So queen g6 would be the way to go, like bishop e8, bishop c1, targeting the g2 pawn. So I don't want to get too deep because it's purely engine variation, let's say, that would not be calculated by either of the players. So that's not the point. The point is that I have the potential with my activity and all that, and it was all allowed because of this knight g5 move, opening the e file, opening the long wide diagonal, opening the c4 possibility. So I would say that this move changes a lot in terms of dynamic of the position. And as I've said, bishop d2 would be completely different and much, much better. So guys, after knight g5, I showed you the variations why c4 should be working. So I went for it. I did not go for bishop g5 yet. I kept that move in hand for the later situation. So I played c4, AB, AB, DC, BC, and as of now, one more like surprise for me. BC is the engine annotation, stockfish annotation. I forgot to clear that out, so it's not mine. BC is completely fine. Stockfish wanted to include bishop g5 as of now, but yeah, it's actually the same evaluation, so don't worry. This move is okay. And yeah, one more surprise in here, guys, because during my calculations, I included bishop a4. That's what I showed you already. Knight f7 was also on my radar, and I believe that also like king g8 was the move that I considered from the distance, but in here, after bishop a4, it's not that clear, so I would perhaps play rook f7 as I said before. But surprising here, what else besides of like bishop a4 and knight f7 can white play? I guess you will never guess it because I couldn't guess it like during the game, and even after the move was played I was unsure what's going on because my opponent went with knight h7 and I was like, wait, what? So I remember that I've spent like 7 minutes in here and 5 of those were to like shake off the shock that I felt, like, wait, what's this move? Wait, what's this move? Like, I didn't know. I didn't know. The only explanation that I came up days later when I was showing this game to my students was that perhaps since the bishop g5 was coming and my opponent felt like he would be losing the piece like anyway, he just wanted to have a pawn for it. Maybe. But really, I still to this day am not sure what was this move about because it makes no sense. The position is dynamic and all that, so wasting a tempo to just take an additional pawn on h file, I don't know, guys. It felt really, really strange. Or maybe it was a tactical oversight, I don't know, because yeah, as we've said, after bishop a4 I would be opening the e file with knight in hand, so maybe that's what my opponent did not like, so he felt, okay, I will give away the knight, and then after bishop a4 there is no bishop g5 with a tempo, taking my knight and all that. Okay, but now I can hit my opponent from the other side, bishop b4. So I'm not like taking the piece there, but I am just hitting the rook, making the rook vulnerable there, making the e file attacked and all that stuff. So yeah, maybe that's what my opponent missed. And also, I had a very cheeky and tricky move in here that crossed my mind for like a second, but I decided, okay, let's not be too greedy and too flashy, because bishop a3 is the top engine suggestion, with the idea that I'm hitting here and there, leaving the bishop under like pressure from the free pieces. So yeah, not human but possible. Nevertheless, I went for the human way of playing, so bishop b4. The idea is simple, like if my opponent takes, I take, still the queen is poisoned. Still to this day the same reason applies, and as you can tell, this, like, including this, yeah, I don't know what was that about. Anyway, after bishop b4, opponent had a choice of playing rook d1, rook f1 moves, similar to the quiet one, queen d1 in one of the variations I've shown you. So rook f1 it is from my opponent. And even though I will be losing the exchange, I mean, I have more than enough compensation for it because I have two light pieces, initiative, activity, all the good stuff. The question is, where do I go with my queen? And I felt like suggesting a queen trade will be actually a nice try, because I knew, I calculated it, I evaluated it, that taking the queen from white's perspective will be better than not taking it. But how often is such dynamic on the board really? Because oftentimes when you are down on material or in terms of overall activity, initiative, and all that stuff, you would rather keep the pieces on the board in order to be able to create some counterplay, right? And that's why my opponent went away from exchanging. And that's why when I gave this position to my students from white's perspective, all of them also went away from the exchange. However, exchanging the queens may actually make the initiative easier for white because they can take there, and if let's say knight f6 happen, here, some rook a7, some bishop e3, some c3, and white has a good shot of on to activate the pieces, to coordinate them, and fight for something in this game. Thankfully though, I knew that gf was much better choice because I am leaving this knight, a powerful knight in here, so it would still be much better. After bishop e8, rook e8, I don't know, like c3, bishop c5, my pieces are amazing and white pieces are not coordinated yet. Bishop has no real good square to go to because d2 is the only one, but it's not a good square because it would be going straight under my rook e2. So in here, practically it's very hard for white to continue, and I would be more than happy to play this position. I think long term it's simply winning. So yeah, queen f6 of mine, I'm proud of this choice. And why queen h3 check is worse, practically? Because after leaving the queens on the board, actually the one who will be holding more and more initiative is black, is me. Because, okay, queens are on the board, but like which queen is more useful in terms of creating initiative? Mine, because it, hits the very important squares around the opponent's king. So yeah, counterintuitive choice and position, but exchanging queens was much better. Not exchanging queens allows me to create so much pressure and initiative that white will be just simply falling apart. In here, my opponent went with c3, bishop c5, bishop d2. One funny trick that I would like to mention, if I don't know, like queen d7 happens, trying to deliver like double attack, I am mating in two. Queen f2, rook e1, just to show you how much more better is my queen than the opponent's. So yeah, if that's the case, opponent has to cover either f2 or the first chunk, so he does that by bishop d2. But now I am simply entering the second rank with my rook, hitting there. So yeah, as I've said, like 1, 2, 3 moves, I am simply crushing and cruising through. And yeah, in here, like my opponent could have resigned, I believe. He went for some rook a to e1 trick. If I take here, he can deliver the checkmate, but it's not even the checkmate because I can cover it, right? So yeah, I mean, I took the bishop, I covered the checkmate, let's say. I am even better and better in terms of the material advantage. And yeah, not that much that white can do. He played king, queen g3, I attacked his rook, he went away, I played knight f4, I'm hitting all the spots, like everything with all my pieces, like even knight e2 with the fork is on the menu. So yeah, queen e3, queen g5, and finally my opponent resigned. There is just no way to stop the checkmate. So pretty quick downfall in this position, but it's not due to the bad play from my opponent in that middle game. It's because keeping queens on the board was so much better for me than for him. That's the case. The game played out itself, let's say, and I won a very nice game, quick one once more, making the tournament end on a very high note and in great humor and all that. So yeah, amazing game, amazing tournament, and I'm not sure about the review. I didn't check it beforehand, but hopefully amazing accuracy. So well, as you can tell, it's not. But yeah, that's not the point. The point is that I won the game very nicely with black pieces against a young prodigy from Spain. So I could not have asked for more. And with that, guys, after summarizing the game, let's sum up the tournament itself, because as you can tell from the outro graphic I have made, during the last 8 episodes, which consisted 9 rounds, 9 recaps, I got myself over 30 rating FIDE points, making me go to my highest ever rating, because my highest ever before was 2259. As of now, I will be crossing the 2260 mark. As you can tell, I put the dots around the rating because if I go back, you may notice that I've played with 2229 rating. In here, I am putting the 2230. Why? I explained it in the first video, but I will mention it once more. It's because FIDE has plenty of recalculations going on their site recently, so they all the time are taking away my 1 point from my rating, then giving it back. So I'm not sure how high am I rated as of now, but hopefully for the February list I will be 2262 or at least 2261. Nevertheless, it would still be my highest rating, so I mean perfect for me. And in terms of the tournament itself, as you can tell, I was placed 19th out of more than 180 players, so I mean top 10%. Really happy with that. 6 out of 9, very good result. And in terms of other, significant results that I can mention, I actually won the prize for the best player under 2250, so can't complain about this. And also, out of many players that were there from Poland, I was second. Even though there are plenty of international masters from our country, only the known YouTuber Sparuman was above me after playing a very good tournament, fighting for not only the top places but also the GM norm. Only at the end of the tournament the things did not go according to Sparuman plans. So other than that, I'm happy to be higher listed than all the other IMs. So yeah, amazing tournament, amazing time there in Spain. Also, like I've said, with the group of friends and all that. So happy with that. I will be crossing my 2260 peak, and can't wait for the next tournaments. I can assure you that I have planned another one coming in the few months time, also in Spain, so stay tuned for it. It will be in April, but until April I guess you would like to see some more content here on my YouTube channel, and it will come, don't worry. So you can leave a like under this video to boost my algorithm and subscribe for more materials to come in few weeks time. And with that, thank you all for watching the tournament, the Road to FIDE Master series. I didn't made the whole like half a year journey out of those all 45 episodes, but I gained more than 100 rating points already, so I guess making those videos motivate me too. And yeah, I will try to keep going, and we'll see each other on my channel, and then in April to cover some more Road to FIDE Master episodes. Yeah, I invite you to it, and as of now, thank you all for watching. We'll see each other shortly. Bye bye.